If boxing is the sweet science, then Pernell Whitaker is its ultimate mastermind. Known for his jaw-dropping defensive skills and a ring IQ that left opponents baffled, Whitaker wasn't just a champion, he was an artist, turning every fight into a masterpiece. Picture this, a boxer so sharp, so focused, he could slip punches like he had a sixth sense, landing perfect counters while his rivals swung at shadows. He battled the toughest fighters, faced controversy head-on, and still came out a legend. Today, we're diving into the incredible life of Pernell Whitaker, the man they called Sweet Pea. From his rise to glory to his unforgettable fights and the legacy he left behind, this is one of boxing's most captivating stories. Let's step into the ring and get started. Pernell Whitaker came into the world on January 2, 1964, in Norfolk, Virginia. He grew up in neighborhoods where boxing wasn't just a sport, it was a lifeline. For a lot of kids there, the gym was a place to escape, to dream, to fight for something better. Pernell found that escape early. The second he put on gloves, people noticed something special. He had this knack for dodging punches, this quickness that made him untouchable. Speed, agility, a natural feel for the game, it was all there from the start. As a kid, he threw himself into training. Hours turned into days, days into years, all spent in sweaty local gyms, sharpening his craft. By his teens, Pernell was already a force in the amateur scene. The numbers speak for themselves, 214 fights, 201 wins. That's unreal. But Pernell? He'd tell you he fought over 500 times, a claim that shows just how deep his love for boxing ran. Every bout was a chance to get better, to prove he was the best. And he didn't just win, he dominated, leaving a trail of stunned opponents behind him. Then came 1984, the Los Angeles Olympics. Pernell rolled in as an underdog, but he didn't stay that way for long. He tore through the competition, his reflexes so fast it was like he could see the punches before they were thrown. His ability to read fighters, to outthink them, was on another level. The gold medal fight against Puerto Rico's Luis Ortiz was the moment everyone remembers. Pernell didn't just beat him, he dropped him multiple times, putting on a clinic that had the crowd roaring. When the final bell rang, that gold medal was his, and the world knew a star was born. That Olympic win wasn't the end, it was the launch pad. Promoters started circling, fans started buzzing, and Pernell? He was ready to take on the pros. His early life and amateur days built the foundation for what was coming, a wild, brilliant career full of highs, lows, and everything in between. This was just the start of Sweet Pea's story. Fresh off that Olympic gold, Pernell Whitaker hit the professional scene like a lightning bolt. His debut was on November 15, 1984, against Farrain Camo, and it was a statement. He threw punches at a blistering pace, 30 a round, they say, and walked away with an easy win. The crowd couldn't believe it. Here was this slick, fast, defensive wizard, and he was just getting warmed up. That night, Pernell showed the world what he was about, speed, smarts, and a style that was all his own. He didn't slow down after that. 10 fights, 10 wins, each one more impressive than the last. He danced around opponents, making them look clumsy, frustrated, lost. Take his fight against Eddie, the Animal, Hunter. Pernell's footwork was so smooth, Hunter couldn't land a thing. It was like watching a ghost in the ring. Fans loved it, critics raved, and Pernell just kept climbing. He wasn't just winning, he was rewriting what it meant to box. Then came 1989, his first shot at a world title. The IBF lightweight belt was on the line, and Pernell faced Greg Haugen, a tough champ who'd seen it all. But Pernell? He was calm, cool, collected. The bell rang, and he went to work. He slipped punches like they were in slow motion, firing back with shots so precise it was surgical. The crowd held its breath as he took over, round by round. When it was over, the judges didn't hesitate, unanimous decision, new champ. Pernell Whitaker was the IBF lightweight king, and the boxing world was officially on notice. But this wasn't a fairy tale. The road ahead had twists waiting, challenges that would test everything he'd built. Pernell's rise was electric, but it was about to get a whole lot more intense. Every great fighter has a moment that defines them, and for Pernell Whitaker, that moment came on March 28, 1987, against Roger Mayweather. Roger wasn't just any opponent, he was a two-time world champ with knockout power that could end fights in a flash. This was Pernell's big test, the kind of fight that could make or break a career. The tension was thick from the jump. Roger came out swinging, aggressive and dangerous, looking to overwhelm Pernell early. For a minute, it seemed like he might. The first few rounds were rough, Pernell took some heat, and the crowd wondered if he'd crack. But here's where Sweet Pea showed who he really was. He didn't panic. He didn't fold. He adjusted. As the fight rolled on, Pernell found his groove. He started slipping those big punches, moving like water, and picking his spots. Then, in the sixth round, everything changed. 10 seconds to go, Pernell saw an opening and bam, a right hand crashed into Mayweather's jaw. Down he went, the crowd losing their minds. That knockdown flipped the script. Pernell wasn't just hanging in there, he was taking over. He kept the pressure on, outsmarting Roger, outboxing him, turning the fight into his own personal chess match. By the end, there was no doubt. Pernell won the WBC title that night, proving he could shine under the brightest lights. That fight wasn't just a win, it was a revelation. It showed Pernell's heart, his brain, his will. Beating Roger Mayweather put him on the map as a legit star, but it also set the stage for what was coming, bigger fights, tougher foes, and a whole lot of drama. Boxing's got a dark side, and Pernell Whitaker ran right into it on March 10, 1988, against José Luis Ramirez. This was supposed to be his night, a chance to show the world he was untouchable. He dominated from the start, landing clean shots, dodging everything Ramirez threw. It was vintage Sweet Pea, a clinic in defense and precision. Everyone in the arena thought he'd won. Everyone except the judges. When the scorecards came in, it was a split decision, for Ramirez. The place erupted in boos. Fans couldn't believe it. Pernell had outboxed him, outworked him, but somehow, he lost. People started asking hard questions. Was it bad judging? Was it politics? Did the sport just not get a guy like Pernell, who didn't knock everyone out but controlled every second? That night left a mark, not just on his record, but on how people saw boxing itself. The controversy didn't stop with Ramirez. It followed Pernell, popping up in fight after fight. Judges seemed to miss his brilliance, favoring brawlers over his artistry. It frustrated fans, sparked debates, and put extra pressure on Pernell to not just win, but win big. Through it all, he kept going, refusing to let the noise drown him out. That resilience. That's what made him special. The Ramirez fight and the fallout showed the world that boxing wasn't always fair, but it also showed that Pernell Whitaker wasn't going anywhere. That loss to Ramirez lit a fire in Pernell, and he got his shot at revenge on August 20, 1989. The rematch was personal. Ramirez came in confident, ready to prove the first fight wasn't a fluke. But Pernell? He was on a mission. From the opening bell, he was untouchable, slipping, sliding, landing combos that had Ramirez chasing ghosts. It was beautiful, brutal, brilliant. Round after round, Pernell broke him down. He didn't just want to win, he wanted to make a statement. And he did. When it ended, the judges got it right this time, unanimous decision for Sweet Pea. The crowd went wild, and Pernell stood there, vindicated. That fight wasn't just a win, it was redemption. It shut up the doubters and proved he was one of the best, no question. But even that victory came with whispers. Some still argued about the first fight, about the sport's flaws. Pernell and Ramirez became a saga, a story of skill versus system. Those two battles cemented Pernell's place in history, showing off his genius and his grit. They're still talked about today, proof of what he could do, and what he had to overcome. Fast forward to 1997, and Pernell Whitaker faced a new kind of challenge, Oscar de la Hoya. Oscar was the hotshot, the golden boy, young and hungry with power to spare. Pernell was the vet, the master, still sharp but carrying years of wars. This fight was a clash of eras, and it had everyone buzzing. Pernell put on a show. He dodged Oscar's bombs, countered with slick shots, controlled the ring like it was his playground. Fans were in awe. Here was Sweet Pea, still untouchable. But Oscar kept coming, landing hard punches that caught the judges' eyes. It was close, tense, a battle of styles. When the bell rang, most thought Pernell had done enough. Then the decision hit, unanimous for de la Hoya. The crowd gasped. Analysts argued. Pernell's fans cried robbery. He'd landed more, moved better, but Oscar's flash won the night. It was another gut punch from the judges, another mark on Pernell's legacy. That fight with de la Hoya became a symbol of his brilliance, and of boxing's blind spots. Even in defeat, Pernell showed he was a cut above. Time catches everyone, and Pernell Whitaker was no exception. By the late 90s, the years and the battles started to show. His last fights weren't the dazzling displays of his prime. Younger fighters tested him, and the losses piled up. But even then, you'd see flashes, the old magic, the old fire. He never quit, never stopped being Sweet Pea. Outside the ring, Pernell's impact grew. He trained fighters, shared his wisdom, passed down the art he'd perfected. He was a teacher, a guide, a legend who cared about the sport's future. Then, in July 2019, tragedy struck. A car accident took him from us, and the boxing world stopped. Fans mourned, tributes poured in, and his story hit harder than ever. Pernell, Sweet Pea, Whitaker wasn't just a champ, he was a pioneer. His defensive genius, his ring smarts, his heart, they changed boxing. The controversies, the wins, the losses, they all built a legacy that's timeless. Today, fighters study him, fans rewatch him, and his name lives on. Pernell showed us the sweet science at its sweetest, and that's something we'll never forget.